Okay, so Tabor, it's nice to see you again. This is Emily, she's my supervisor. So I was just wondering if it's okay if she kind of just sits in on this and observes me.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, do you mind if she takes notes and I also take some notes?
No, that's fine.
Okay. So, can you just kind of tell me how you've been doing since our last session?
Well, things have been really stressful for me lately, and my anxiety is getting pretty high. It's been pretty bad lately, but I have been trying my hardest to get on my feet and to try and find a job.
Okay. Well, that's really great. So today I just kind of wanted to go over what we talked about in our last session, which was just kind of some of the goals that we made, and just kind of talk about the progress that we've made on those. And then kind of move on to talk about some of the strengths that we mentioned in the last session and talk about, just kind of expand on those and ways that you can use them to accomplish your goals. Does that sound okay?
That sounds good.
Okay. So in the last session, we kind of talked about the struggles you've been having since you dropped out and you have your 2 kids, and it sounds like, your anxiety is kind of getting a little bit worse. So, some of your concerns were just kind of having enough skills to find a job, finding some transportation to get to your job, someone to take care of your kids, and kind of just wanting to move out of your parents' house. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we kind of also talked about some of the goals that you wanted to accomplish, and we might kind of expand on those today, and if you have accomplished some of them, kind of cross them off the list and maybe get a few new ones on today. But kind of overall, you were thinking about getting your GED, finding a job, finding someone to take care of your kids, some way for you to get to work, so some kind of transportation, and then finding somewhere to move out. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just kind of start with, how things have been going as far as starting to make some steps to achieve your goals.
It's been really difficult, but I have been trying as hard as I can to get a job. And my parents have been watching my kids while I go and apply and check the jobs out. But it just seems like I've applied to hundreds of places, and I've only heard back from a few.
Yeah.
They don't pay well, but it's a start. And I do have an interview next week, and I'm hoping it goes well so I can start working soon.
Okay. Well, that's really great. You're really determined, and you're a great mom, and you just really want to help your kids, and so I think that determination is definitely paying off with you trying to get a job. So let's kind of talk about your GED. I know you mentioned that you were thinking about getting it. Have you looked into anything, or?
Well, I've looked into a couple of night programs. I'm kind of holding off until I get a job and a set schedule with that. But I do really want to get my GED and possibly go on and get a degree of some sort, just so I can support myself and my kids.
Okay. So then maybe, we should talk about potentially adding that as a goal, is just kind of checking into that, and then once you do get settled in a job and a set schedule, signing up for some of those classes. Does that sound like a good goal?
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Okay, let me just write that down. Okay, so what about, let's move on and talk about how childcare is going. I know you don't have a set schedule on work, but have you kind of been looking into that, or?
Like I said, my parents can watch the kids once in a while. But once I start working full-time, I don't have anyone to watch them during that time. And I really don't think I can afford daycare. I just don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Okay. Well, we kind of talked about your family last time and how they were really supportive. Do you know, can any of them kind of help out, or maybe just cover a few hours here and there? Or if that's something that you can kind of talk to them about?
They can help out a few hours during the day, but they mostly can only help out at night because, they have their work schedules, so.
Okay. So then I guess just the main concern is during the day, because that's probably when you'll be working.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what about, you also kind of mentioned that you were a member of the church in town. And I know some churches have some different daycare programs. Do you know if your church offers anything like that?
I don't really know if they have daycare or anything, but I do know that there are some older ladies who love kids, and I was thinking maybe they would be willing to help me out.
Okay. Do you think that could be another goal for you for the next, few weeks, to kind of check into the daycare, and then maybe just kind of briefly talk to those ladies and kind of follow up with them to see if they would be willing to do that?
Yeah, I think I could do that.
Okay. That's great. I really think that, using your church could be a really great strength for you. So let's kind of move on and talk about finding some transportation. And I know finding a place to live is more of a long-term goal, but if you've looked into that at all?
I have been looking to a few places to live that I think I could afford once I start working.
Mm-hmm.
I've also been looking at cars, but they're just so expensive, and I just don't know if I can afford one anytime soon, especially with like a down payment on or a deposit on an apartment and first month's rent and all that kind of stuff.
I know there's a lot of buses that do run in Lawrence. Do you know, are there any stops near you or near your work?
I'm really not sure. Okay. I think there might be, but, I don't know their schedule or anything.
Okay. Do you have access to a computer, maybe?
Yeah, my mom has one.
Okay. So then let's maybe try to set another goal of just kind of looking into the bus routes and where they're running and what times they're running, and see if that might work for you. Do you think that could maybe be something you could do this week as well?
Yeah, I can do that too.
Okay, awesome. So now I just kind of wanted to move on and talk about the different strengths that I've been noticing in you. So I just kind of want to ask, do you remember some of the strengths that I mentioned the last time?
Well, I think you said that I was determined and that I was a good mom.
Right. So, the fact that you are such a good mom gives you a lot of things to be determined about, and, it helps you to focus on the important things like finding a job and getting your GED. So, I think that's something that's really, really awesome. Do you remember any others?
Well, you said having a supportive family was a strength, right?
Mm-hmm. So, absolutely having a supportive family. Right now your parents are kind of helping watch your kids, and I know that that's not a long-term thing that they can do, but, you're living with them, and they can be there for you emotionally, so that's definitely something that is a really big strength for you. So then I just kind of wanted to move on and talk about some of the strengths that I noticed today. And one of them was definitely the fact that you have a lot of support from your church. Churches tend to have a lot of resources, and, they might have a daycare program, or like the ladies in the church. How do you kind of feel about that?
I mean, I never really thought of it as a strength, but I guess it makes sense when you explain it like that.
Okay. So in the last session, well, I guess today and our last session, we kind of talked about the goals. And then today we talked about the progress that you were making. And, you have this interview, which is a really big step, and I'm so proud of you for that. It's really, really amazing. And, you're hopefully going to be able to check off that get a job box. And then, we came up with some ideas about childcare and, like, some ways that maybe you can get that for an affordable price or maybe for no price. So that's really good. And then we talked about some alternatives for transportation, which I think can be a really good thing for you and kind of take some stress off the table. And I know your anxiety is really high, so hopefully that'll help out. So then we also kind of talked about your strengths, and in the last session we had a few, and then we added a few more today. So your family and your determination, and you're such a good mom to your kids, and having the church as a resource is definitely something that I think you can utilize and can help you with your goals. And then also just kind of utilizing the transportation that's in town that is going to be a cheap price, so you don't have to spend so much money on a car. Does that sound about like everything we covered?
Yeah.
Okay. So we did set a few more goals for this week, and I just kind of wanted to go back over those and just make sure we're on the same page. We talked about looking into programs at the church and maybe seeing if some of the members would be willing to help out. And so I think that could be a really good resource. We talked about also getting your GED and kind of looking into night classes, and that's not necessarily like super important right now because you don't have your schedule yet, but I think definitely looking into that and looking into setting that up or setting up a meeting with someone to kind of move things along would be really helpful. And then we also kind of just talked about looking online to see where the bus routes are and what time, just to kind of help you out as far as getting to work and back. So do those goals sound like something that you can accomplish this week or in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. That's really great. I'm so proud of you, and you've done a really great job. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about today?
No.
Okay. Well, this was a really, really great session, and we went over a lot and accomplished a lot, and like I said, I'm so proud of you. You have this interview, and you're moving along in your life, and you have these goals that you want to accomplish. So, thank you for coming in, and I will see you next time.
Wait, yeah.
Feedback.
Feedback.
Oh.
Horrible.
Wait, I want to see how
I'm just
long it was. Oh no. 12 minutes.
Awesome. Cool. Still going.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know.
Okay, so I think that you did very good paraphrasing and clarification throughout the entire, what is this, like a session, or it's not an interview. Session, yeah. You did really well at like addressing the overall agenda up front and throughout the time, and I liked that you listed the 5 goals specifically, and then you like I think that helped it flow easier, like from topic to topic. And then also it allowed like you to paraphrase the goal that you set last week, and then discuss what you guys had discussed, and then let her talk and express her feelings and kind of what's going on with that goal. So then you're like more in depth covering that goal, and then you go back to kind of affirming what she said and like maybe morphing the goal a tiny bit to whatever she needs, or adjusting it, like looking at a bus schedule or whatever. I thought that was really good. Good body language and like nodding, and I thought that you showed like a good amount of emotion, but not too much. Like you were emotional and you were excited for her, but like
I wasn't like crazy. Like,
yeah, you weren't like, I'm so proud of you. Yeah. And I thought that like going from one thing to another instead of taking them as a whole helped you like address her problems more thoroughly. I guess I said that. And then I liked that you elaborated on the strengths and how they can realistically be applied to real life in her life, like with her parents and the church. You talked clearly and at a good pace. I thought that the session was structured very well, and that again, like you were a good leader and allowed you to talk and Tabor to talk enough. And then at the end, I think you like pulled it all together really well, and I like that you covered, like, again, you ended on a positive note. It stated again what we did last week, and then what we did again, like what we just covered and established our goals are today. So I thought that was good. And I liked, one other thing is I like that you gave suggestions of resources that she could use, like the bus. And then you tied that into being a goal. Mm-hmm. So you like suggested other resources, which is what we're supposed to do as social workers, right? Mm-hmm. And then like helped make that be something that would actually become fulfilled. I think the only thing that I wouldn't really change very much, honestly. You did really well, but I liked the paraphrasing, but sometimes I was like, is she repeating herself? But then I realized
I felt like that too. I was just like repeating myself a lot. But
mm-hmm. But I mean, like, it's a good. So maybe I would take out like 1 or 2 of the paraphrasings or shorten them, but really, I didn't feel like that took away from it.
Like, oh, so here's like some of your concerns, and then I was like, but here were your goals, and
right.
It was like the same thing. So I feel like if I could have just like worded them differently and like made them, I guess, like slightly different, so it wasn't like exactly the same, and she wasn't like sitting there like, you just said that.
Yeah.
Like,
or you could flow from like, I know that, you know, like combine them. Like these are your concerns and your goals. Like, I know that these things have been concerning you. We established these are your goals of how you're going to like fix those. Yeah. Or address them.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, I thought that it felt like you moved the topic along and like changed topics, but it was at a very natural pace. It wasn't forced, and it wasn't ever stagnant. So I thought you did that really well.
So I didn't go like too fast or too slow.
No, like I thought it was a really nice pace. And you know, like Emily said, you suggested a resource and made it a goal, but it didn't feel like you were being overbearing or forcing that on me. And, you know, you had really good body language. Every time I looked at you, you were looking at me. You know, you were sitting very relaxed, and your voice was very, I guess, mellow. You know, it wasn't like super excited. It was like getting
really shaky. I was like,
yeah, no, but it wasn't ever, you know, worried. It was just very calm and soothing. And I love how much you emphasize the strengths of the character and really built them up and all that. And, yeah, the only thing I would change would be there was a lot of paraphrasing, which was good.
Yeah,
but
it was a lot. Yeah.
By the end, I was just like, okay. But that's the only thing, like, I really noticed. So, good job.